Welcome to all who are tuning in. We're just waiting to get started and get settled. Welcome to everyone who is joining in. We're going to get started in 1 minute. Okay, it is 11 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to get started. Welcome to the inaugural webinar for the Association, Leadership in a World of Ethical Enterprise AI. We're so excited to have you all here. And before we get started, I'm going to introduce the association, who we are, and what we are trying to do. So the association is a global nonprofit that is built by practitioners for practitioners in the fields of AI, data, ethics, privacy, robotics, and security. We recognize the current challenges that are clear with AI, data, and privacy policies and the risks associated in these industries. We're focused to work with the experts and implementers of AI on enabling support that ensures diversity, equality with this global community. We want to provide members with access to best practices and ensure digital ethics and responsible use of data policy. By becoming a member of the association, which is free, you get access to all these materials and what we're building moving forward. We'd love to partner with your organization in a sponsorship or joint program capacity. And if you're interested or have questions, please reach out to our team, let us know in the chat, and we'll be in touch. I'd like to introduce our panelists today. We're so excited to have a great group of folks across industries and the higher education system. Please welcome Dr. Sandeep Krishnamurthy, Henry Clavo, and Ruchi Arora. This panel has expertise across all of these industries, and please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sandeep Krishnamurthy, the Singelyn Family Dean at the College of Business Administration at Cal Poly Pomona. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Henry Clavo. I'm a data professional specializing in natural language processing and data management and governance.
Hi everyone, I'm Ruchi Arora. I'm data analytics and AI practitioner and lead the data analytics and foundation service at Starbucks. I'm also the founding member of the association. Excited to be here. Thank you.
Great, welcome all, and thank you. Just added a disclaimer here. Anything I share today is my own view for this event. And now we're going to define some terms so everyone's on the same page. So generative AI is focusing on creating new content and data, while traditional AI solves specific tasks with predefined rules. Some examples of these, let's share those. So generative AI uses unsupervised learning and generative models. An example here is ChatGPT. Traditional AI employs supervised learning and discriminative models. An example here of traditional AI is computer vision. Now let's dive in. So the first topic we're talking about today is the value of AI. So first, what is the value of AI and how do we extract value from AI and how this can implement in companies and universities? Ruchi, I'd like to get your thoughts first.
Sure. So AI can definitely add a lot of value and promote the efficiency in the way we work today. For example, the process automation, the day-to-day manual task which we work, and especially the digital transformation the companies are towards, the RPA, robotic process automation. It has also has varied use cases. We have seen in accelerated transformation. It adds to the major cost savings in the company by eliminating those day-to-day manual tasks. We see a greater resilience using RPA. Robots can ramp up quickly and also match the workload peaks and respond to those big demand spikes. We have seen higher accuracy in how the task is executed. It reduces the manual errors, improved compliance by promoting through the legal and others by boosting the productivity there. It adds more value to the personnel, employees, and the partners in uh, how day to day or how hiring, or we'll speak later into that, how it adds to the human side of it, contributing to the happier employee or a workforce load. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ruchi. And love to get your thoughts as well, Sandeep.
Yeah, ultimately, we start off with the first, idea, which is that we all currently live in a knowledge-based economy, and AI is disrupting knowledge itself. What does it mean to know something? How do we create knowledge? How do we create knowledge-based processes that are different? And then how do we monetize those and so on? That's idea number one. The second idea is that you can have two people interact with the same AI system and have generate completely different results. One might be more valuable than the other. So the issue is, how do we help managers, leaders, and employees understand how they can extract value from the AI in a way that is actually consistent with the company goals and help them do their jobs more efficiently. So, and finally, I think we all agree that this is a massive effect that is going to, it's a sort of effect that we see once in several decades, that is transforming the economic structure. So there is a massive realignment of various economic systems that we are seeing already. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandeep. I'd like to dive a little bit deeper on the university side and the student scene. So a very hot topic is how a lot of students in high school and college are using ChatGPT to write their essays. I'd like to shift the conversation in a more positive direction and talk about how you're seeing AI being used for good in the classrooms on creative projects.
Yeah, the main thing that we are doing is shifting the student's perspective from using the AI as a tutor or a co-pilot for their assignments, and starting to get them to think about what does it mean to build AI related skills so that they can lead in enterprises that ethically integrate AI into their operations. This is a fundamental shift that we're doing. There is still some work to do because there are no industry standards on what those AI skills are going to look like, but we are already starting to think about how do we switch from digital natives, which is what we call our current students, to AI natives, which is students that when the time they graduate, the students that are going to be admitted this fall, 4 years from now when they graduate, they're going to be used to having AI as part of their life for 4 years. They're going to be AI natives. They're going to come from high schools where they're used to using AI. So what does it mean for education? What does it mean to learn something when AI can help you produce content? These are the sorts of questions that we are now grappling with. But certainly, our belief is that we have to recognize the power of the tool and integrate it into our learning systems rather than pretending that it has no impact.
Awesome. AI natives, I love that. We're calling a lot of folks in the corporate sphere AI deputies. So they'll go from AI natives to an AI deputies. That's great. So there are many use cases for AI, and I'd love to get your thoughts, Ruchi, first on how AI can help managers and eliminate these biases we're seeing in the workplace and help increase diversity in our companies.
Mhm. AI is already playing a big role in impact in recruiting or eliminating those biases. It can help company analyze past job postings, for example, to for gender bias language, for example, and which might have discouraged many folks globally to apply even for those positions. And future postings maybe could be better gender neutral, increasing the number of global applicants across the group and providing more inclusion to the people. So, unbiased hiring is one, diverse sourcing. AI can also assess some of the algorithms in sourcing candidates from a wider range of backgrounds and experiences than others. Inclusive language and how we post, what we post, and some of the content for the diverse pool of applicants from applying from different parts of the world, enabling the reach. Training and development for the managers and leadership, which I would say that most important. And as Dr. Sandeep mentioned, on how it starts from the education and then in catering into the pools and bringing them, making them managers and leaders. So it is inbuilt, and then it's leading to the performance evaluation. It can mitigate that biases in performance evaluation by analyzing those objectives, which we have learned through. The impact of unconscious bias and cultural differences in all of that. These power tools offer resources for self education. These trainings are must for managers and leaders in each companies, I would say. It creates a safe space for the employees to voice those concerns. It brings the challenges where it has a lot of benefits, and that's where AI deputies can play a big role in shaping up the culture of an organization, creating those leaders which cater this culture or cascade this culture down and also upwards in an organization. So,
Great. Thanks so much, Ruchi. And Sandeep, I'd love to get your thoughts on the classroom side. How can we eliminate biases and increase diversity in the classroom?
Yeah. So what we are learning is that the bias issue is two-sided. Sometimes the AI systems generate biased results. For example, if you go to a system like Midjourney and type in, give me images of successful professional leaders, it tends to be very, very narrow in terms of the demographic variability. But at the same time, what we also know is that the quality of the prompt is going to lead to better results. So what we are trying to do is help the students understand that don't view the AI as sort of a static intelligence. It is a dynamic intelligence. So if you have prompts that are very clear and thoughtful about diversity and having unbiased results, you're going to get better results. That's number one. The second thing is that don't blindly accept whatever the AI produces. Make sure that someone is actually looking at it before it actually makes it into a marketing campaign or it makes it into some sort of public document. Those are two ideas we're working on.
Awesome. It's a great segue into our next section, which is what does the leadership in AI look like, and what does that human side bring to AI, and how we can make that better. So AI is everywhere and at times all-consuming for managers and leaders on what they should be paying attention to. And I'm curious how leaders should be thoughtful at this moment, Sandeep, if you can touch on that.
Yeah, I think the main advice for the senior leaders is to not just get too focused on cost and not view AI as a cost cutting mechanism that can be done through brute force. That is the wrong way to think about it. Instead, one must think about how you elevate the capabilities of your employees, how you make them feel that they can do more, and how you support them and encourage them to produce at higher levels. And certainly, this is the time to be transparent and collaborative with employees. Rather than them having to guess how all of this is going to impact their lives.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandeep. And it seems to be the race to AI. In the consumer space, we've got a lot of apps out there on our phones: ChatGPT, OpenAI, Microsoft Copilot, just to name a few. And I'm curious, of all the companies, competing in this space, how can you stand out and compete for the users? And Henry, I'd like to get your thoughts on this first.
Yeah, the market is saturated with a lot of companies offering AI solutions, but the only way they can differentiate themselves is offer a unique value proposition and solve specific problems. So instead of creating a chatbot or LLM that encompass everything, maybe they can just focus on a niche market and special features that other companies or competitors are not using. And also, in order to differentiate yourself from your competition, you need to leverage and use advanced tools to download scale models and leverage vast amount of data. However, when the business requirements or business landscape changes, they'll need to shift and focus on changing their priorities and business capabilities. So they would use Databricks and Snowflake to be able to build their own models in a secure environment and be able to test and leverage these models based on their data set. And also, they need to make sure that their consumers are protected and safe, because if I'm invested in a product, I need to make sure that my information and my privacy is secure within the system. And by these tools that currently are in the market with Databricks and Snowflake, they're able to rely on security and being able to test their data within a closed environment.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Henry. And Ruchi, I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well.
Totally, I totally agree with Henry on how the companies, and it's a race. How more and more companies are in this competitive space, and there are tons of tools to perform the similar events, activities, and all in different areas of the work. Taking one common example of in tech industry for the coding, there are different tools that are available. For example, GitHub Copilot, Amazon Code Whisperer, and 10 others, ChatGPT being the most commonly used. Now, how do we decide and how companies can get to be more user focused in this space? Maybe few areas are what language supports user can, what language each tool supports in different areas, and what they are used for. Data integrations, not all companies starts with the same maturity. So do they have support for the legacy tool, how the data integrations look like, how easier and hard it is to low code and no code, and others, and vice versa? What functionality it generates and promote? For example, code completion, code generation, code storage, privacy, and also literacy in this space. Pricing model. Pricing model is the key for many companies on it. How it is designed, what are subscription models, or is it free for something, and what are some common functionalities it provides. More transparent it is, more easier it's for the users and the companies to adopt such tools. How ethical, how transparent, and how open it is and how it fits to the company's use case is the key for different tools that are available, in short.
Awesome. Thanks, Ruchi. And on the flip side, I'd love to touch on the enterprise software side. So as companies are implementing AI in their products, we're seeing a lot of development to allow low code and no code usage, as you mentioned, Ruchi. Sandeep, I'm curious how you see companies can compete in this space.
Yeah, I think so. The promise of AI is sort of democratizing, innovation, and how do we get people that don't have master's degrees in computer science to kind of just jump in there and do something. At the same time, I think what is missing maybe giving the participants tools on how to evaluate the output and how to make sure that the output is actually what they intended to do. So really, I think over time there'll be other tools that basically help validate the code and make sure that the code is actually of a high quality, and guide the students who might be thinking about innovation or startups to kind of develop things the right way. But what we are finding is that for the students, what we are telling them is, if you're non-technical, if you just go from level 0 to level 1, I mean, that itself might be now enough for you to kind of start developing code, and then you just compile it, and then you have something already up and running. So we are really trying to motivate them on what is possible, and then encouraging them to think about how they can take this new capability and then apply it, towards problems that they care about. But I think we still have some, work to do. Um, and the second thing is we're encouraging experimentation. We're asking students, to kind of not have a one-track mind. Don't think that generative AI starts and ends with ChatGPT. They keep hearing about that, so it becomes the big thing. So we're trying to tell them that, look, that is one of the tools, that is one big thing, but it is not the only thing. It used to be that the first competitor came in, then took many years for the second competitor and third competitor. It's no longer the case. So you already have, a whole lot of other credible, alternatives available. So just be aware of that and make sure that you're experimenting and trying out different systems and see how they approach, the assignments that you give them. So I think these are some of the things that we are starting to talk about.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandeep. And I think you mentioned before that Pomona is having competitions or just in that sense that students can bring their ideas, compete in that space. Is there anything coming up for your university that you can share?
Yes, in April we will have an AI hackathon that we are finalizing the details with the sponsor. We'll have a public announcement soon. We're also going to have a AI fair, which is going to be a big festival of various all things AI. And we're going to have discussions of many of these topics on campus. We expect that to be a very well attended event.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to hear what comes out of that and what apps we can download on our phones in a few months.
Absolutely, why not?
Awesome. Moving on to our next topic, getting a little bit more technical and also talking about privacy and how data governance is really sparking within AI. So AI was somewhat of a buzzword in 2023, and now it's become clear that companies need to have an AI and data strategy to stay relevant. Henry, I'm curious how you're seeing companies that you work with cross-industry are adopting an AI and data strategy.
Yeah, definitely. So it all starts from the top. They need to prioritize their data assets and what they want to invest in. If they want to invest in, let's say, banking, teller information, or if they want to invest in healthcare, extracting claims data, it all starts from the top and be able to strategically plan how they would manage data and provide governance. And from experience seeing organizations work in the past 10 years, they need to have a very strong data governance, be able to prioritize data security, who be responsible, who be the data stewards of the data, and being able to make decisions so that the data being fed into a system or to an AI model or AI strategy can be confident that it's not spitting out biases or reducing opportunities for people that rely on these products. So these are important facets. They need to move from a process-oriented operations to a more of a data-driven decision. And in order for them to do that, they also need to invest in data infrastructure so that the data that they do collect, when they load into the cloud or any other cloud services, they'll be able to leverage these modern technologies and be able to scale and manage large amounts of data. And that's not easy because they need to upskill and hire people who are competent and able to take on this workload. And these strategies needs to be in place in order for the companies to use state-of-the-art dashboards or Power BIs or things of that nature. So it all starts with a data-driven culture and be able to leverage that information to make good decisions.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think it's really important to start with that culture, get people talking about it, and then set that strategy in the company vision. Do you think that companies are hiring at the right rate right now, or do you think that needs to increase as strategy is kind of prevalent across organizations?
This year, yes, they're more. They're moving their, let's say, their investments from. A good example would be Facebook moving from metaverse to uh, investing to Llama, and OpenAI hiring more, let's say, prompt engineers to improve their current offerings.
Awesome. Thanks, Henry, for your thoughts. And I'm curious, you're talking about, growing, building, strategizing, and, companies are wanting to create new and automate a lot of these things. And, also thinking about personalization. Ruchi, I'm curious how, companies are looking to do all this and also govern what they're building and putting those guardrails in place.
Yeah. It is complicated than it sounds. It's easy, like AI can make lives easy, but to implement that at a scale is really a challenge for a lot of companies where they are not at that maturity. The companies, unlike Snowflake and Databricks, which are far ahead and leading the way or paving the path for these, where they are creating, growing, and investing, and also the policies around the governance on it. So, for those companies who are starting in this journey, the first and the foremost step is to be very clear about the AI strategy and the value it will bring to them. There definitely cannot be a good AI strategy without a strong data strategy in place. So, investing in education first, upskilling and reskilling the workforce of what and how they need to execute. It's not eliminating job; it's human behind it. So, how a human can think and learn and keep up with this change at first and train the workforce around it. Data is gold. So work on data strategy first, I would say, starting small and then scale fast. Invest, build, and repeat the process. What works? Collaboration and co-creation is key. Collaborate with different companies, co-create. There is no monopoly in that other model which has worked in the past may work now. There's always learning from others, and fail fast, learn, and build the solutions. Ethics and transparencies is again foremost, which I think all of us have stressed on why it is so important to have this responsible AI. It's disruptive in already many fields, bringing advantages, but how we can create the policies around it and secure those. Cultural transformations. Many a times we are used to work in a model that works for us. So bringing that cultural change, a data driven approach is the hardest part in any organization. How can we convert them into more data driven or think on adopting an AI or getting used to doing things differently than they are used to doing things. So it has to be it needs to start from the executive sponsorship top down and should become a company culture on thinking that way. I'll say customer centric approach. Use and think what customer wants, how, and you can bring the value around it. Lastly, I would say share your successes, share the best practices, and celebrate the small wins of where and how it brought the difference and where you can become more mature in key and learn from those.
Awesome. Thanks, Regina. I'm curious, you're involved
Yeah.
in the women in data community, and are you seeing the conversation shift a lot in recent months and in the last year from what it was before of, diving in, really sinking your teeth in and being okay and failing, in learning all of these new things?
It is learning. It is continuous learning. Yes, there is a big shift in all these communities. We are talking about these tools, AI, education, and everybody is promoting that culture to learn and grow in that space. But there is a lack and there is a huge gap in how the regulations are or the policies are when we talk about responsibility or responsible AI coding and others. Can we blindly trust those? No, we cannot. What are those factors we need to consider in is the key where we are working on, especially like this DEMA association, women in data, or all these communities are all working towards that to fill that gap or bridging that gap. There is a big shift in how we are thinking already.
Amazing. Thanks, Ruchi. And shifting to a real world example. So we're seeing, new companies launching all the time with the core of their business being AI. And just last week, former Salesforce and Google leaders launched a new AI startup called Sierra. And at its core, Sierra is a customer service bot. But in addition to providing answers to questions, it's taking action on behalf of the customer. The app also claims to solve the issue of hallucinations, where large language models will sometimes make up an answer when it lacks information, which can be a big problem. Henry, I'm curious what your thoughts are about this and how you're seeing companies tackling this issue with their models and how it's affecting their brand.
So the most basic way to resolve this is to have it in a secure environment where you're training data and the models that you picked, and looking at the output at a human level and then correcting them. And then another process would be when the output spits out from the model, you can automate that by using algorithms to detect these changes, if it's human or not, automate it and correct it and feed the data back into the process. So these techniques are called the uh, RAG, or essentially it's a technique that we take data that from outside, like Google. You look or do a search, or basically all that information, and we feed it back into our own data sets, so it can specialize and shoot an output that is personalized to the person asking the question. That is the most basic level. And more on the technical side, now we have Snowflake, being able to build your own models within a closed system. And you can do that by testing these models, modifying the accuracy, and fine tuning the information that's being provided to you. And this is a better alternative as opposed to taking your data outside of the infrastructure and feeding it outside of the data, so that risks privacy and loss of trust in customers. So that's a pretty common way that current developers are utilizing the infrastructure in clouds to improve their models.
Awesome. Thanks, Henry. And I'm just curious of the companies you've worked with, consulted, or worked with. How are you seeing that they're developing and adopting policy? Do you think it's majority? Do you think a lot of companies are behind? I'm just curious.
In my experience, the past 10 years, they're still catching up with the executive order issued last year. The guidelines will be that based on that, they're doing studies with each of their department agencies in order to understand how AI will improve how to buy software, how to improve the processes of purchasing or hiring contractors or things of that nature. So we're still in early stages, but having a strong data governance and quality would be a good start, and having a leadership focusing on a data-driven organization will leverage them into the future.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Henry. And to round us out, I'd love to ask, each of you in your respective organizations, where are you looking for policies around AI? Like, are they being shared? Are they prevalent? Where do you look for this type of information? And Sandeep, let's start with you.
Yeah, in universities, I think we are encouraging faculty members to clarify their expectations from students on what is appropriate use of AI in their particular classroom. I think that is, kind of really important. But one of the things that is kind of very interesting is I recently learned that some companies are forbidding employees from creating fake media that misrepresents the brand and the leadership of the company. For example, you can have a fake video where the leader is, spouting words that they would never do. Those kinds of things apparently are now grounds for firing even. So I think the HR organizations in many companies are trying to understand the implications of AI media production in particular.
Great, thank you. And Ruchi, go ahead.
Totally. I think it is catching up, I would say, but it has gone too far than companies implementing it or thinking about it after the fact. Then now it is a part of strategy. It is inbuilt in design, especially in tech, how you are building those solutions, how you are building those frameworks that are now deployed in different industries to cater IT needs, healthcare, or different departments, and within the company itself, marketing, sales, and HR, and others on that. Three things or top 10, I would say, call out whether these policies which the companies are adopting and working on should strongly align with their mission and vision of any organization. The value driven approach, then a more human centric, especially in the company which I am in currently, how it aligns to the human centric, where the vision is creating those human connections through coffee and others, for example, and trust. So getting back to the risk based approach, then how we are used to working on it, mitigating that risk, which Dr. Sandeep called out, that whether in education, faculties and how they are adopting it, identifying those use cases and addressing those malicious actors or social media. What are those? When we have digital assistants in the form of chatbots, how we are validating those contents, the policies around that, and identifying and detecting those scam or spam is very important. Innovation and pre-approval, and there should be a jurisdiction or a compliance body or a governance firm to approve of all what goes out and what comes in. Data flows, I would say data privacy and even data security is utmost important. New laws and harmonization, internationalization, or co creation. So that's where it's a long way for companies to adopt, mature in this space.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ruchi. And Henry, I'd love to get your thoughts as well.
I just want to take a little piece from what I learned from the executive order. Is essentially when the company takes your data, they need to communicate how they're going to use it at a most simple level, provide that guidance. So when you go to an event or you go anywhere, you're not targeted or marginalized because of it. A good example would be an event happened in Radio City. They used face detection. The person was escorted out. So these are the things that need to be addressed in AI ethics. Uh, I've seen companies provide these services, AI ethics, but that it needs to be at a, I guess, national level, be addressed within companies, and not just be accepted because they have the resources to do so. But that's one thing I wanted to point out that's not being talked about.
Great. Thanks, Henry. And thanks all for those resources. We'll be sure to share those with our association members after this webinar. I just want to add one more resource, the association. We are a one-stop shop for questions on data, on policy, and our building community to have those conversations right in our forum, whether that's on LinkedIn, whether that's in our product. We're looking to, have all of you have those conversations and have that safe space where you can bring things from your company, your industry, and learn from others. And we'd love to invite you to be a member. Again, it's free. Follow us on LinkedIn to stay up to date on what we have upcoming, whether it's more webinars like this or things on our podcast, Beyond Binary. And we'd love to also invite you to become a sponsor and join a chapter. Again, I'm the Seattle chapter lead. So if you're in Seattle, give me a shout out on LinkedIn. And we have other chapters as well in the US and globally that we are starting up. And if you'd like to start a chapter yourself, we'd love to have you join and be a part of what we're building. We're so excited. And thank you again to our panelists and attendees for attending this inaugural event. We're excited for more, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.